Hey everyone, welcome to My Wife the Dietitian, a weekly podcast about lifestyle and healthy eating. I'm Rob, and together with my wife Sandra, we invite you to join us on this informative yet entertaining journey through the complex world of healthy eating.
We'll cover everything but the kitchen sink. Each week we'll discuss topics ranging from how to protect yourself from developing cancer, spicy foods to rev up the libido, to caring for your palliative grandfather with Alzheimer's.
We'll also delve into more complex issues like, what the heck is oat milk? Why doesn't my butt fit into these jeans? And every guy's favorite question, will eating spinach really make it bigger? Join us each week as we strive to educate, enlighten, and entertain you.
If food waste was a country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emitter globally after US and China. It's estimated that in Canada, a family of 4 will waste approximately $1,200 worth of food a year. And in BC, 25% of food people buy ends up in the landfill, which contributes methane gas emissions. With food waste, nobody wins. Today, we have a special guest, Dietitian Meredith Cushing, who will discuss some exciting food rescue initiatives to help with food insecurity around Vancouver, BC. We'll also discuss some strategies that everyone can do at home to reduce their food waste. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Sandra.
Did you know that it's 6 months until Earth Day, April 22nd?
Your birthday?
No, Earth Day.
Oh, Earth Day.
Yeah, Mother Earth. That is my birthday. No, it's not my birthday. It's close, but... and it happens to be Waste Reduction Week in Canada, October 17th to the 23rd.
Is it like a new diet trend or something? Waste reduction?
You're funny.
The new waste reduction plan. No, it's not that.
Well,
it's the other kind of waste.
Hey, you're funny. Since on this podcast we talk about food and nutrition, we're going to discuss food rescue and food waste prevention with our special guest, Dietitian Meredith Cushing. Meredith and I have been colleagues for 26 years. We met as interns in Vancouver Hospital. We are thrilled to have her as a guest today. Hi, Meredith.
Hi. So excited to be here. I'm coming to you. Yeah, coming to you from smoky Vancouver today. Yeah, super excited. And what great timing. Did you know that this week is Waste Reduction Week?
No way.
That's perfect. Oh my gosh, yes.
This was meant to be. That was completely unplanned on our part.
Yeah, meant to be.
It's interesting, Meredith. I sorry to interrupt, but half a year to October 22nd is Earth Day, April 22nd. So it's about 6 months. We should do things every day, but those are special days just to remember that, Earth Day and environmentally, we should be thinking about Mother Earth.
So people have 6 months to take our tips from today's podcast and put them into action. How's that?
That's a great idea.
A good take-home challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about what are we calling this? Waste reduction and food rescue, right?
Yeah.
Those are kind of new terms to me. Food rescue. I mean, that paints a picture in my head of like this little team of soldiers like racing down after a runaway apple or something. It's not that at all, is it?
No. I think most people would probably be astounded to know that 58% of all food that's produced in Canada is wasted or lost every year. And within produce alone, that can amount to a $3.1 billion worth of produce that's rejected, often purely just for cosmetic reasons, which really is a bit astounding.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And at the same time, we're seeing the highest increase in food costs. Just this past week, there was a lot in the news. Galen Weston from the Loblaws Corporation, he has frozen the pricing on the no-name food brands because of the astronomical increase in the price of food. Overall, there's been approximately a 10% increase on most grocery items, with some items such as dairy even being increased by about 30%. So definitely families are feeling it in their pocketbook, and it's really having an impact on what families are, able to afford. So the fact that all this food is getting wasted, um, there's got to be a better way, and there is. I think there's also the environmental cost that comes with this, because about 8 to 10% of the greenhouse gases that are responsible for climate crisis also come from all that food that's just thrown in the landfill. So,
Meredith, I was
yeah,
actually listening to something recently, and it said in the US, a family of four, over the year, they have $1,500 worth of food waste, of food
yeah,
they bought and then they've thrown away or didn't use because the lettuce went limp in the crisper, or, in that regard. So it's definitely, people can do things at home to help with this problem.
absolutely. When we're throwing all this excess food out, nobody's winning. And so this then brings us to the next, sort of problem with food insecurity. And when we talk about food insecurity, the definition of that really is the inability to reliably provide oneself with healthy food, having to accept or decline the quantity of one's food and nutrition due to cost, having to skip meals, and sometimes not eating for a day or more at a time because of lack of funds. And often within families, it tends to be the adults or the primary caregivers that are often the ones that go without in order to provide food for their children.
Wow.
And I work in pediatric nephrology at BC Children's Hospital, and I work with children who have chronic kidney disease and are on kidney dialysis. And really, what we try to teach our families is that the best possible diet for their children is a fresh diet. So, one that has lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, one that has fresh meats. And we really try to encourage them to avoid the processed and packaged foods because of all the food additives that are in those. And it makes it very difficult for the kidney to be able to clear those. What I've been noticing recently in my population is that a lot of families are commenting on how difficult it is for them to provide their children with the types of foods that they would like to be able to provide. And this causes a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry. A lot of parents are showing up at visits really worried that what they're able to provide is going to impact their child's kidney numbers. And
Mm.
certainly we do know that when, money is tight, it actually is more expensive to be buying fresh fruits and vegetables and produce, and it's much less expensive to be buying highly processed, highly refined, packaged food products.
And
Right.
is that the main issue then, that it's the cost of the food that's becoming preventative for them to,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think like we've all,
Like versus that they want, like that's what they want to eat, or it's mostly cost?
it's cost that's driving this change, and most people have been able to get by, month to month, and having enough money to just cover all their costs. But now, with the increase in the price of gas, the increase in the price of housing, and then you add on the significant increase to the cost of food, families are just finding that it's no longer, able. They're no longer able to be choosing the types of foods that they really would like to be choosing. So I started doing a lot of research and looking into what resources could I provide to my families to help them achieve their goals in providing the fresh food for their kids. And that really sparked my interest in the whole rescued food movement. And I also thought, if I'm going to be recommending this, I better try it.
Awesome.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Was there an already existing industry that you just kind of discovered, or is it something that's growing out of need?
I think it's been growing out of need. I think there's been small changes that have been happening over the past few years. For example, I know some produce, some grocery stores have imperfect produce. So you can buy the perfect bag of apples, or you can pay, a little bit less and buy the imperfect bag where they may have some blemishes, they may have some bruises, they may not be the showstopper, fruit that you see in all the glamorous photos, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it from a nutrition standpoint. And
Can I just add something to that?
yeah,
They also have sometimes they'll replace what's on the stand, like bananas, for instance. I went to get bananas the other day at the store, and he was bagging up bananas to put on the sale rack, and there's nothing wrong with them. And Sandra's like, well, they probably have more in the back that they need to bring out because they have a shipment that's arrived and they got to bring them out. So they're putting perfectly good bananas on the sale rack to make room for more perfectly good bananas that have just arrived. So just because
yeah,
it's on the sale rack, it could still be perfect.
yeah, absolutely. And so I think what you're now seeing is that with the, technology, that there are more options available for how this food can be redistributed, because rescuing the food is one part of the problem, but then how are you then going to redistribute it and get it to the people who can benefit? And there are many programs out there ranging from free services to ones where you pay small fees. And I've been looking into all of the different programs. I think one of the most popular programs, and one that's been around forever, is the food bank. And many people are very aware of the food bank. And it's an incredible, very valuable resource that's been around to serve the community for many years. You do have to register with the food bank, and I believe that there are certain criteria that you need to meet. You do have to have proper identification, and every member of your family does have to have identification to be registered. So some families are a little reluctant
There's a
to do
stigma,
that.
right? A
There,
little
there
bit.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely there's a stigma around that. And the other issue with the food bank, if you're dealing with a chronic disease such as kidney disease, is that often the food that gets donated is not always the best quality. I think we've all done this when, our kids come home from school and they say, oh, there's a food drive at school. I need to bring something. And you go to your Lazy Susan and you're kind of looking for, that can of beans. Not that there's anything wrong with beans.
I was going to say it's always beans, which is ironic because that was our last episode of it was how important beans are. So really the people eating at the food bank are getting the best of the best.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, Rob, more like craft dinner and like
Yeah.
those boxed, like kind of high carb, low nutrition kind of meals.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
the stuff we don't want. That's unfortunately what we get rid of, right?
Yeah, it's all the stuff we don't want. Sandra's right. It's the craft dinner, it's the Mr. Noodles, it's the cheap, convenient, quick, the food, the shelf stable. It's those types of items. So it can be very difficult for someone who's dealing with a chronic disease that does need access to a certain type of food to really rely on the food bank. There have been some great initiatives in some food banks throughout the province. I know up north there is a food bank that has a renal cupboard.
Mm.
So they will put more renal appropriate food in that cupboard. So if clients who are utilizing the food bank do have kidney disease, that's available for them to shop at.
Would it be like lower sodium? Sorry, like a
Yeah,
lower sodium option? Okay.
yeah, lower sodium, lower phosphorus, lower potassium, less processed. But that doesn't exist everywhere. And it's also dependent on the donations that they're receiving. So they may not always receive donations that would be appropriate for that cupboard. I just would also like to say if anybody does want to support the food bank, I know that really the best way is by doing a monetary donation. For every dollar that you donate to the food bank, they have the buying capacity and the means to turn that into $3.
Ooh.
So if you did want to give a money donation as opposed to food, they then have the ability to buy what's needed and can make some better food choices for the clients that they're serving.
That makes a lot of sense. They can probably buy the right volumes that they need, and it's going to be fresher likely as well.
Yeah.
The other question I had was, I was always under the impression that the food bank only accepted kind of shelf stable foods. Like you can't donate fresh meat or produce or something, or can you?
You can actually. Some food banks will take surplus produce. So if you have a garden and you do find yourself, with a bumper crop and you do have extra fruits and vegetables, there are not all, but there are some food banks that will accept those. So you would just have to check with your local food bank
Right.
and see what they're open to taking.
I guess we're all familiar with just the canned food drives that are, that's probably more common. And if you have fresh food, you probably need to go to the food bank itself to drop it off. There's probably more stipulations, involved.
Yeah. And I think that there's also, obviously when you're wanting to donate food, don't just assume that everybody just wants whatever you have to give. Certain organizations do have certain rules and regulations around what they're able to accept and what they're able to take, because the last thing they want to do is to have to turn around and put your donation in the garbage.
Exactly.
So I think it is prudent to kind of do some background research, contact the organization that you're interested in donating to, and make sure that you know exactly what their limitations are, and so that you can donate what's appropriate. I know a lot of organizations would prefer to have nutritious foods. So avoiding, a lot of foods or beverages that are high in fat, sugar, sodium, soft drinks, energy drinks, low nutrition, nutrient snacks, those types of things are kind of not recommended, but more focusing on things that have high nutrition, like your beans.
Right, exactly.
You always want to make sure that the food is safe to eat. So don't donate something that you yourself would not eat. If you know that you have a canned food product, but you know that it got frozen or it was exposed to high temperatures, or the can is really dented, or it's been on your shelf for a really, really, really long time, don't donate that, because then you're passing on the cost of disposing of those items to the organization that you're donating to that's trying to help, other people.
Right.
Good point.
Some places will pick up donations, so that's an option as well. You can always check and see, do you have to drop it off? Can they pick it up? Also give lots of notice so they can plan ahead, because they are often limited in their storage space. And particularly if you're donating an item that needs refrigeration or freezing, you would need to make sure that they have the space and availability to accept those food items.
Good to know.
Yeah. And there's some really, really cool initiatives out there. So obviously, I'm not going to address all of them. I've provided Sandra with some resources. She can post them on your Facebook page, and also have sent her some pictures that listeners might enjoy looking at. I am going to touch on a few of the initiatives that I have been most interested in and that I have been trying myself. And the first one are community fridges. So these have sprung up, especially during COVID. They became quite popular. And it's literally exactly what it sounds like. you're walking in a community down a sidewalk and there's a fridge.
Really?
Really?
Yeah,
It's
Oh.
like one of those little libraries, but for food.
absolutely.
And refrigerated.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're often decorated by local artists, and so they can actually be, quite an attractive art installation in the city. With the community fridges, they often do post just sort of a little summary of kind of their expectations or their rules. And, obviously they don't want people donating spoiled or past expired food, things that aren't good to use. But it is a really great place for restaurants in the area if at the end of the day they have surplus food that they can label it and they can put it in the fridge, and then people in the neighborhood that want to access it can go and access it. So it is a really great initiative. I guess being a dietitian and being so aware of food safe, I do have some concerns over food safety.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly would not want food sitting there for a long period of time. So you should always put a date on anything that you're putting in there.
Mm-hmm.
And also just making sure, that the temperature in the refrigerator is reliable so that the food is staying within the proper safe zone, to make sure that it is safe for people to eat.
Meredith,
Yeah.
I have a question. With the community fridges, is it an organization that is looking after it, or is it just like someone's, like the fridge is outside someone's house, or a business and they put the fridge there?
Yeah, typically where I have seen them has been, outside, sort of like a neighborhood house. So some sort of a location that's, a drop-in center for the community
Yes.
is where I have seen them located. So hopefully there is someone who can oversee and can check it, from time to time to make sure that food isn't sitting there for a long period of time. And I did send you a photo, I think, Sandra, of one of the local community fridges. So yeah, it would be great for people to check that out if they're interested in seeing what it looks like. But it pretty much is a painted fridge.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. That was really interesting.
That's
Yeah, it
really
looked,
neat.
yeah, I guess I do have a few concerns. I mean, with books, you can have a little library and books can sit there for years without being touched, but with food, I mean, definitely there's a expiry date, and a lot of food goes bad. And I don't know, I like the idea, and I like the idea of maybe having, like a little library with food, like canned food and food that is, kind of, it won't go bad in the next little while, but like the fridge and the idea of maybe casseroles or soup or something, I
Yeah.
don't know. Anyways, but I love the intention and the spirit of giving and the generosity of, neighborhood houses and community resources like that, or churches maybe have them. I'm not sure, but I think that's great. It's just, yeah, I do have a few reservations with the food safety aspect.
I'm sure there's
Yeah.
like food, like health, like legal health, food safety issues, people getting involved from that side of things too, that are going to prevent some of this from happening. And I would assume that it would have to be through somewhat of an organized or like a managed organization in order to keep tabs on this so that it is food safe.
Yeah. Let's cross our fingers and hope.
Yeah, versus the random fridge in the middle of the road that nobody really knows what's in it or how long it's been there or who put it there, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. But it is a super cool idea.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey,
Yeah.
Meredith,
Yeah.
I had one other question about the food stash chair.
Oh, that's my favorite. Yep.
Okay.
So Food Stash is a rescued food organization. They have a physical rescued food market here in Vancouver, and they also do delivery of rescued food boxes. So the intent is that it's for people experiencing food insecurity who are located within their service area. And the cool thing about them, so grocery stores, restaurants, they can all donate food. They have massive freezers and really good refrigeration storage. And with their rescued food box, they deliver healthy, perishable food. So fruit, vegetables, dairy, and meat. And it's about 30 pounds of healthy perishable food. And it's only $10 to get that delivered if you're within their service area. So for people who, can't get out, who have a disability, who with chronic health condition, it's challenging for them to have access to healthy food or to get out and get healthy food, that's a really great option. I also love their market. It's open from 3 to 5:30 every Thursday, and it's a perishable food market. So again, they have fruit, vegetables, dairy, meat, and it's a pay what you feel basis. So no payment is required. And anybody who is experiencing food insecurity can come and bring their own reusable shopping bags. They can shop, take what they need, and have access to healthy perishable foods. So it's a really, really wonderful organization. And I often refer my clients to that.
And is this a Vancouver only operation, or do you know if these types of places exist sort of worldwide or North America, or they differ, I guess?
Yeah, I think there's variations of these, throughout the province and throughout. They may have a different name, so
Right.
it would just take a little bit of looking and searching. I know Food Stash in particular, it is just in Vancouver at this point.
Right.
And, whether or not it's something that will end up branching out to serve more locations, I'm not sure, but it is fairly new. But so far it's been hugely successful, and it's really been making a huge difference in the lives of people, in Vancouver that need access to healthy food that otherwise would not be able to access it.
Yeah, I've heard of a few similar type operations where food is getting rescued and repurposed. Well, not repurposed. It's given to new people, if that makes sense, right? So
I think on the island, Rob, I know in Nanaimo they have Loaves and Fishes food bank, and that's kind of it's a big operation where they rescue food, or they have access to food that otherwise would be thrown out, and then it's given to different food banks and different organizations to get that food out into people's homes.
Yeah, I think like Meredith said, there are places they just have a different name maybe, but they're similar operations everywhere.
Yeah. My other new favorite it's called Pico, P-E-K-O.
I was going to ask.
They are not, they're not app-based. They have a website, and this was started by two UBC students who were concerned about the amount of food that's being, thrown into the landfill, and wanted to come up with a creative way to rescue this food. So they are Western Canada's first online delivery service that's dedicated to peculiar and surplus groceries. So everything that they sell is up to 40% off retail prices. And they deliver both on Sunday and Wednesday. It is free delivery. The cost of a food bundle is about $30. And I believe you get like 15 to 20 pounds of food. And what I love about it is if you order for delivery on Wednesdays, 60% of the cost that you pay is donated to Food Stash. So for me, that's a win-win.
That's awesome.
I'm actually waiting for my delivery to come today. I'm super excited to see what I'm going to get. It's always a surprise.
So it's always different.
It's always different. The last time that I received my order, and there's a picture that I provided that can be posted on your Facebook page, but I received, ginger, carrots, cucumber, lemons, nectarines, broccoli, grapefruit, sweet potatoes, leeks, and 2 bags of chestnuts. I have never cooked with chestnuts before in my life.
And have you used them yet?
I have. So this prompted me, what am I going to do? And I ended up using pretty much all of the vegetables that I got in my bundle to make a soup.
Oh, nice.
With chestnuts as the base, and it was lovely.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you roast them on an open fire?
Well, they were already roasted and peeled for me, luckily, but that would be great at Christmas if I got some that were still in the shell.
Absolutely.
That would be something fun to do.
Chestnuts.
So I had a question, Meredith, with the chestnuts. Was the food that comes from Pico, is that from a store, or is that like someone's backyard, or how does that work? Like the chestnuts, for instance.
Yeah, no, they were in a package.
Okay.
So yeah, they definitely were from a store, and I believe that they do get all their produce from, local grocery stores and yeah, supermarkets that have this imperfect, peculiar produce.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so it's the only thing I will say with Pico is it definitely would help if you did have some cooking love and passion and skills and ability, because you may find that you receive all of this food that needs to be used quite quickly. So it helps if you're a bit crafty in the kitchen, I guess, so that you can figure out, how you're going to best utilize all these sometimes new and wonderful things that you may never tried before.
That
That's
sounds fun.
awesome. Is there recipes that come with them or not in that?
I think they do have recipes on their website. Yeah,
cool.
so
Okay.
yeah, so the website's actually really good. They kind of talk about some of the most common food items that they get, and we'll give some recipes. I also received some packaged products for some gluten-free products that had been, I guess, just slightly mislabeled and were not allowed to be sold in the store, but still perfectly good. So my gluten-free friend was incredibly happy to receive those as a gift.
That's
Oh,
that's
nice.
fun.
I bet.
Yeah.
That sounds neat. Getting something different every week, I mean, it's and it's like you said, it's a win-win. So that's
Yeah.
that's
I
awesome
just have two more that I wanted to briefly talk about here.
for sure.
One is called Flash Food. It's an app-based program, and there are many variations of this, but Flash Food is the one that I'm most familiar with. So this is an app, and you log on, and all the participating grocery stores in your area come up, and every day they post items on the app that are significantly discounted, and it can range from breads, yogurt, dairy foods, dry goods, fruits and vegetable bundles. There can be fresh meat on there. So it's just something that you need to go on. You need to check every day. You do need to enter a credit card, which can be a barrier for some people, and you do need to go pick it up. So transportation, may also be a barrier, but you can get some really good deals on food through the Flash Food app. And my new favorite that I'm a little bit obsessed with is an app called Too Good to Go. And with Too Good to Go, it's make sure that food gets eaten, not wasted. So every day, restaurants that are participating, it can be bakeries, restaurants, hotels, grocery stores, food that they have left over at the end of the day, they post on Too Good to Go. And there's a pickup time, and you reserve your bundle and go and pick it up. And so far, I have been completely thrilled with the items that I have gotten through the Too Good to Go app.
That's
Oh, I
awesome.
love that.
What was their motto again?
Food gets eaten, not wasted. Yeah.
That's my motto too.
Totally. That's so true, Rob.
Right?
He's always the last to finish all of our meals if people aren't
I
finishing
can't
their meals at the
stand throwing
table.
food in the garbage. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I'll just pass it over here. I'll finish that. So
Yeah.
awesome.
That's awesome.
Was there anything else you wanted to mention there, Meredith, while we've got you?
I would say just, explore and, do your best. Things that we can do at home. I'd say the most important things when you're looking at food is really to have a plan. If you have a plan and you're looking at your week and you're planning a menu, that's the most effective way to reduce food, because then you're not overbuying or buying things you're not going to use.
Yes.
Make sure that you're finding creative ways to use your food up. So try to use what you already have in your fridge and in your pantry. And, if you can't use veggies fresh, then maybe you can make them into a smoothie or blend them into a soup. Best before dates, a best before date is not a hard, fast date. So nothing magical happens to that food on that best before date.
Exactly.
So don't just throw something out because it's a little bit past that. It still can be good to eat, or you can find other creative ways to use it. Or if something's approaching a best before date, put it in the freezer. You can always take it out later if you're going to use it, right away later. And Also making sure that you're storing your food properly. 45% of food that's wasted at home is usually produce, and it's because it's not stored properly. So educating yourself on, what does best in the refrigerator, what does best at what temperature, if you need to put something in a bag, how it's going to stay fresh longer. And, always look for recipes to help you use up all those leftovers and extra ingredients. There's
Absolutely.
so many creative things that you can do.
I have a rule of thumb with the grocery store and how I store my things. So I look at how they are displayed at the grocery store. So if they have mist on them, or if the tomatoes and avocados and cucumbers are sitting there and they're not being refrigerated, I think they're okay on the counter for the first little while at home. Yeah, it kind of gives me a sense. Like if I get something out of a refrigerated section in the grocery store, I put it into the refrigerator at home. But with produce, it's like, okay, potatoes don't need to be refrigerated, and tomatoes, when you first bring them home, they're usually pretty good on the counter for a few days. Same with avocado, and and all the ripening times. Like it's good to get, say, a bag of avocado. If you're going to get a bag, you want to get some that are not ripe and some that are ready to eat, and some that are, like you want different, so that you don't have to eat them all in one day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lots of creative things you can do, and that's a really good tip, Sandra, is to pay attention how it's stored in the grocery store and replicate it at home.
Exactly. I concur.
So have fun with your ugly fruit, because it's every bit as good for you as the perfect fruit.
Oh, it's even better, probably.
I think it's even better. You know that if an insect's been nibbling on that leaf of lettuce, or that there's no pesticide on it, and it actually emits hormones. We've talked about this in episode 5 about cancer prevention, and how it can actually make the plant stronger. And when we eat it, we get those beneficial antioxidants and phytochemicals from the plant, and it has made the plant stronger, so it makes our cells better.
Yeah.
Nature's so cool, isn't it?
It's so cool.
Right on.
So let's reduce our waste. Let's stop putting fruit and vegetables in the landfill.
Yeah, exactly. That was really good information. I appreciate you joining us today. It's nice to have some different ideas and concepts explored. And yeah, hopefully some people will hear this and check out these ideas that we've been talking about today in their own communities and see what's out there.
And hopefully you'll have me back sometime soon.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think we could do a few episodes with you, Meredith. There's so much information, and you're just a wealth of knowledge. Like it was just, I was so happy to hear that you wanted to do this, and your information is just so valuable. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, guys.
We'll have you back on Earth Day, Meredith.
Ooh, that would be wonderful.
It'll be Earth Day with Meredith.
Yay.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Meredith.
Thanks.
All right, Meredith, take care.
And we'll post all of those resources on our show notes. So we'll have all the different websites that you mentioned, and the information that you've emailed me, and we'll put that on there for the audience.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care.
Meredith. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. That was a great interview, Rob?
Wow, yeah, she sure knows her stuff.
Oh, just so comprehensive, and just all the different resources for people living in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland there.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see some of the apps that she mentioned, if they work, like where in the world they work, if it's just local or...
Where in the world?
Where in the world are they?
They're on your phone.
Yeah, they are.
I'm just joking.
I logged into a few of them, but they only kind of offer me local stuff. So I'd be curious to see if that's something that people can look up and check out. I'm sure there's other apps that are similar, though, that are like that.
I think so, yeah.
Awesome. So maybe, did you get a list of what they were? There was Pico. These are the apps. Pico and Too Good to Throw Out or something. What was it called? Too Good to Go.
Too Good to Go.
Too Good to Go. There you go.
So
okay.
I think for the call to action for people to start to reduce food waste in their own home. I think it's really important that people plan ahead for like their week's meals and kind of know what food they need for the week.
Yeah, we did a bit of an episode on that, but I don't think we discussed the food waste element of it. I mean, planning is very important for just making life easy, but it also reduces food waste, which is what we discussed today. So that was something else.
Yeah, I think it was in the grocery tour episode.
Yeah, rings a bell.
So making sure that you kind of know your inventory before you go grocery shopping. So you kind of look at your fridge and in your Lazy Susan and in the pantry and just check out what you have and what you need so that, you know, you're not getting things that aren't going to be used for long periods.
Right.
And definitely use leftovers after meals. I mean, that's a big thing. And just freeze them or use them the next day for lunch or however you use leftovers in your house.
I love leftovers. I live on leftovers. Seriously, they're so good. And it's just like a brand new meal the next day because it tastes different after being in the fridge all night. And it's exciting at lunchtime. You open the fridge and there's like this plate of food that you've forgotten. Like, oh, that's so exciting.
Hopefully we don't forget too long or it'll start be food waste.
Not in our fridge.
No. And also it's really important to store your food. As Meredith said, store it properly so it doesn't go bad and so that it stays as fresh as it can be.
Yeah, especially the produce. I just bought these little plastic bins that, because our produce bins in our fridge, we just don't have enough space. So I just bought some little plastic bins. They're probably for storing socks or something in your closet, but we just keep whatever vegetables don't fit in the crisper, we just keep those in the bin on the shelf, and it's been working awesome. Everything's nice and fresh still, so...
Yeah, I like those. Thank you for getting those.
Give it a try.
Yeah. I guess the last thing, I don't know, we didn't really talk about it too much, but it is really important, I think, is, and it's actually after the fact, but composting. So the food scraps or when you're, peeling your carrots or cutting the ends off of your zucchini or whatever, to compost. I think that's really important to try to use that so that the cycle of plant life and to bring it back to the earth, and it's great for the soil.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of composting programs starting even in the urban centers nowadays, so it's something to consider. We should maybe do an episode on composting. I think there's probably a lot that we could discuss, hey?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And definitely in 6 months, Earth Day. Maybe we'll get Meredith back too.
Well, absolutely. Earth Day with Meredith.
That's right.
It's a date. She's probably got it in her calendar already. And Meredith's pretty organized that way, so.
Absolutely.
So next week, what are we doing?
Episode 44, we're talking about food. Does it relate to mood?
Food. And you'll have to tune in to find out. So that will be next week. Something fun. All right. Well, thanks, Sandra, and thank you, Meredith, for joining us. It was so fun having her, our first special guest. So
it's my wife and her friend, the dietitian.
Yeah, we'll have to change the title now. My wife and her friend, the dietitians. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will talk to everyone again next week. Thanks for joining us today on My Wife, the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review, and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.